There was a woman who lost her mother in the fall, and all that hard winter she felt nothing. She said the grief had frozen solid inside her, the way the creek freezes, and she could not get down to the water. Then, one morning near spring, she woke from a dream so real she sat up in the dark and spoke out loud. In the dream, her mother had been standing in the kitchen, young again, humming the little song she always hummed while she cooked, and she had turned and smiled and said, "I never went anywhere, child." When the woman woke, the room still smelled faintly of that kitchen, of bread, of her mother. And the ice inside her finally cracked, and she wept, and she told me later it was the first time since the funeral she had felt her mother close instead of gone. Now you can call that grief playing tricks. A lot of people would, but the old ones would not have called it that. The old ones would have leaned in close and told you, in a low and certain voice, that the woman's mother had come to see her. That the ones who walk on before us do not go as far as we fear, and that they have their ways of reaching back, of tapping us on the shoulder, of saying, "I am still here, pay attention." So pull your chair close to the fire tonight, and let me tell you what the elders taught about those signs. 5 of them. 5 of the ways they said the ancestors reach back across the door to touch our lives. This is not a story to frighten you. It is the opposite. By the time the fire burns low, I think you will feel less alone than you did when you sat down. Because if the old teachings are true, then not one of us is ever really walking this road by ourselves. Before I begin, let me tell you what the old ones understood that we have mostly forgotten. They did not see death as a wall. They saw it as a doorway, and a thin one, thinner at some times than others, thinner in the quiet hours and the in-between places. They believed the people who loved us do not stop loving us just because they laid their bodies down. Love, they said, is the one thing that walks through the door both ways, and when someone on the other side wants you to know they are near, they cannot exactly pick up the telephone, so they use the language they have left. They use dreams. They use the animals. They use a scent, a song, a feeling. They knock softly, in the only ways a spirit can knock. Our job, the elders said, is simply to stay awake enough to notice. Here is the first sign, and it is the one almost everyone has felt at least once. They come to you in dreams. Not the ordinary dreams, the tangled, foolish ones that dissolve the moment you open your eyes. I mean the other kind. The dream that is more real than the room you wake up in. The old ones set those apart. They said that in deep sleep, the thinking mind finally goes quiet and stops standing guard at the door, and that is when the ones who have passed can slip through and sit with you a while. You will know it because of how it feels. They are not sick anymore. They are not old or bent or hurting. They look well, better than you remember, whole again, and there is a peace on them. Often they do not even say much. They just let you see them. They smile. They hold you. Sometimes they give you one short sentence, and you carry that sentence around for years. The elders would tell you, when you wake from a dream like that, do not brush it off. Do not tell yourself it was only a dream. Sit with it. Say good morning to them. They came a long way to see you, and they chose the one door that was open. I think of a young man I knew who lost his grandfather, the man who raised him, and he could not forgive himself for not being at the bedside at the end. He carried that like a stone for a year. Then one night, the old grandfather came to him in a dream, sitting on the porch the way he always had, whittling, calm as anything, and he looked up and said, "You were never late, boy. I waited for you, and you came, and I heard everything you needed to say." The young man woke with wet cheeks and the stone gone from his chest. Now you can tell me his own mind built that to give him peace. Maybe it did. But the old ones would ask you a fair question. Where do you suppose the peace came from? And why did it arrive wearing his grandfather's face and his grandfather's voice, saying the one exact thing that boy needed to hear to go on living? The elders did not think our grief was clever enough to heal itself so precisely. They thought someone helped. The second sign comes in daylight, and it comes on wings and 4 legs. An animal steps out of its ordinary way to be near you. You know by now, if you have sat by this fire before, that the old ones watched the animals closely. But there is a particular kind of visit they connected to the ancestors. It is the bird that lands on the rail right beside you and will not fly off, and cocks its head and looks at you like it knows you. It is the butterfly that follows you across the yard, or lands on your hand at the graveside, or drifts through an open window in the dead of winter when there should be no butterflies at all. It is the deer at the edge of the trees that lifts its head and holds your eyes far longer than a wild thing ever should. The elders would say, when a creature breaks its own nature to come and be with you, especially soon after a loss, especially at a moment your heart is aching, that is often a loved one borrowing a pair of wings to come and check on you. They cannot come in the body you knew, so they come in the nearest living thing, just long enough for you to feel them. You do not have to believe it to let it comfort you. But the old ones believed it, and I have watched a grieving man go quiet and soft at the sight of a single cardinal on a fence post, and I would not be the one to tell him he was wrong. The third sign is the quietest of them all, and the tenderest. A scent, a song, a small familiar thing, arriving out of nowhere. This is the one that catches people off guard, because it slips right past the thinking mind. You are standing in an empty room, and all at once you smell your grandmother's cooking, the exact bread, the exact coffee, as clear as if she were at the stove behind you, and then it is gone. Or you are driving, lost in your troubles, and their song comes on the radio, the very one, at the very moment you needed them. Or you find a feather laid across your path where no feather should be, a coin, a flower blooming out of season. The old ones did not think these were accidents. They said the ancestors reach for the small things, the things too specific to be chance, the things that only you would recognize, precisely because only you would recognize them. It is their way of signing their name. A stranger would walk right past that scent, that song, that feather, and notice nothing. But you stop cold because you know exactly whose it is. That, the elders said, is the whole point. It was never meant for the stranger. It was meant for you. There was an old woman who told me that after her husband of 50 years passed, she was sure she would never hear their song again without breaking apart. It was a certain old tune they had danced to when they were young. For months she kept the radio off, afraid of it. Then, one evening, she was in the market, tired, low, missing him something terrible, and over the store speakers, soft, came their song. Not a song like it. Their song. She stood there in the aisle with her hand over her mouth, and she said it did not break her the way she feared. It held her. It felt, she said, exactly like his hand finding the small of her back on the dance floor all those years ago, steady, saying, "I have got you. Keep dancing." She finished her shopping. She hummed the whole way home. The elders would have simply nodded at that story. Of course he found the song, they would say. He knew she was listening for it. That is how they reach the ones who are grieving. Not with thunder, with the smallest, most particular tenderness, the one thing only the two of you ever shared. The fourth sign has no shape at all. It is the feeling of being watched over, the sense that you are not alone in the room. Every one of us has felt it, even the ones who would never admit it. That warmth at your back, that gentle weight, like a hand resting on your shoulder when you are sitting up late with a hard decision. The elders took that feeling seriously. They said the ancestors keep watch. especially in our lowest hours, especially when we are close to giving up, and that the comfort you feel out of nowhere, the sudden steadiness, the sense that somehow it is going to be all right, is often them drawing near. They did not come to fix your trouble for you. That was never how it worked. They came to stand with you inside it so you would not have to carry it alone. I knew an old man, hard as a fence post, who told me that the night he nearly gave up on his life, he felt his late wife sit down on the edge of the bed. He felt the mattress dip. He never saw a thing. But he said the loneliness lifted right off him like a blanket pulled back, and he made it to morning and then to the next morning, and he was still here to tell me about it 20 years on. Do not be quick to explain that feeling away. The old ones would tell you it is one of the truest things there is. And here is the fifth sign, and it is the deepest, because it does not come and go. It lives in you. You find yourself being pulled back toward the old ways. Maybe you have felt it your whole life and never had a name for it. That ache toward the land, toward the quiet, toward the way things used to be done. The pull to learn the language your grandparents spoke, the one nobody taught you. The feeling, standing in the middle of this loud and hurried world, that you were somehow born 100 years too late, that your heart belongs to an older, slower, deeper way of living. The elders had a beautiful understanding of that pull. They said it is the ancestors calling you home, calling you back to who your people were, back to the fire, back to the ground they walked, back to the things that actually matter. It is the bloodline itself remembering. That restlessness you feel with the modern world is not something wrong with you. It may be the most right thing about you. It is the old ones, generations of them, standing behind you and gently turning your face back toward the path they walked, so that what they knew will not be lost, so that it lives on through you. If you have ever felt that you do not quite belong to this age, take heart. You may belong to them. There is one more thing the old ones taught about all of this, and it is worth knowing. They said the signs do not come evenly. There are times when the door stands thinner than usual, and the ancestors press closer. The turning of the seasons, when the year itself is dying and being reborn, the nights around an anniversary, the day they passed, a birthday, the old holidays when the family used to gather, the hour a child is born into the family, because the old ones love to come and look on the new one and see themselves carried forward. And most of all, your darkest nights, the hours when you are closest to giving up, because that is when they will move heaven itself to get near enough for you to feel them. So if you have felt nothing for a long while, do not think they have forgotten you. Watch for the thin times. Watch the quiet hours, the anniversaries, the nights you need them most. That is when they come closest to the door, and that is when a heart that is paying attention will feel the knock. So now you have the 5. The animal that comes out of its way, the scent and the song and the small familiar thing, the hand on your shoulder in the dark, and the deep pull back toward the old ways. And you may be sitting there right now thinking of a moment of your own, a moment you never quite explained, and wondering if that was them all along. Let me speak to the doubt, because the old ones did too. They were not foolish people. They knew a dream is sometimes only a dream, and a bird is sometimes only a bird. They did not go looking for signs behind every bush, and they warned against it because a mind that hunts for signs everywhere finds only its own fear. The elders taught a simpler test, and it is a good one. A true sign does not frighten you, it comforts you. It arrives with a strange, quiet peace, a feeling of being loved, not watched. If something leaves you calmer and softer and less alone, if it makes you want to be kinder, the old ones would say, lean toward it, that is the ancestors. And if something leaves you afraid, set it down and walk on. Love is the signature. Love is how you know. And what did the old people do when a sign came? Not much, and that is the beauty of it. They did not panic, and they did not chase. They gave thanks. Some would set down a small pinch of tobacco and simply say, "Thank you, I felt you, I know you are near." Some would speak out loud to the empty room, the way that woman spoke in the dark, and tell their mother or their father or their grandmother what was in their heart, the things they never got to say. Because here is what the elders knew that our busy world has forgotten. The conversation does not have to end just because the body did. You can still talk to them, you can still tell them you love them. And on the nights when the door is thin, you may just feel them answer. So this is what I would leave you with, from my fire to yours. This week, pay attention. When the dream comes, sit with it. When the bird will not leave, say hello. When the scent finds you in the empty room, do not run from it, breathe it in and smile. You do not have to believe every old story to let your people comfort you. But the elders were sure of this, and I have lived long enough to lean their way. The ones who loved you are not as far as your grief tells you they are. They are just on the other side of a very thin door, and now and then, in the ways a spirit can, they knock. Tell me down in the comments. Has someone who passed ever reached you in a way you could not explain? A dream, a bird, a song, a feeling in an empty room. I read every one of these, and I will sit with yours, and so, I believe, will they. Walk gently. Keep your heart open and your eyes open, and the next time you feel that quiet peace settle over you out of nowhere, do not explain it away. Just say thank you. Say, I feel you. And know that you have never once walked this road alone. Until next time, my friend, stay warm by the fire and give my love to the ones who are waiting.